So we had started with a lesson on landforms, if you remember in the previous class, and we had studied that landform is actually a natural feature of the Earth's surface. We had studied about the factors responsible for the formation of landforms, and we studied that there are three kinds of landforms, that is the mountains, the plains, and the plateaus. So in the previous class, I had taught you about the mountains, their characteristics and types of mountains. Now today we will be studying about the two other different types of landforms, that is the plateaus and the plains. So in this picture you can see there are two kinds of plateaus, that is intermontane plateau and the volcanic or the lava plateau. So children, a plateau, it is defined as an area of high ground 500 feet above the ground level. So a plateau is also referred to as a tableland because it has steep sides and it has generally a flat top. So that is why it is also referred to as a tableland. So there are two kinds of plateaus. That is, the first one is called the intermontane plateau. So these plateaus are the highest and most extensive types of plateaus, and intermontane plateaus are those plateaus which are surrounded by mountains on all sides. For example, the plateau of Tibet, which is also referred to as the roof of the world because it is a flat tableland. It is the highest plateau of the world. It is surrounded by mountains on all sides. So that it is an example of an intermontane plateau. There are other examples like the Bolivian plateau, Colombian plateau. The next is the volcanic plateau. So as the name suggests, and as you can see in the picture also, these are formed by the deposition of lava. So when the volcanic eruption takes place, the lava starts pouring out and then it starts to pile up on the surface gradually, and as a result of this, during each eruption the lava flows out from the openings and it solidifies and builds a new layer each time. So that is an example of a volcanic plateau. So children, in India also the Deccan plateau is an example of a lava plateau. All right, the other examples are the Colombian plateau. Now we begin with the plains. So children, a plain is also referred to as a lowland because it is an extensive area with a level or a gently undulating surface. So children, the word undulating, it refers to a land which is flat with a series of rise and fall. That is called a plain. So it's not necessary that a plain will be absolutely flat. It can be undulating as well. All right. So children, we have three different types of plains: the structural plains, the erosional plains, and the depositional plains. So the structural plains, these are formed mainly because of uplift or subsidence of land. So as a result of the endogenic forces, the diastrophic forces, it may cause a portion of the land to rise. Alright, or it may cause submergence of the coastal land under the seawater. For example, the Great Plains of USA were formed due to uplift of land submerged under water. So in that area, see children, initially in the past, many million years ago, it was below the sea, but when it got uplifted, still there were some areas which still remain below the sea. So as a result of that, those areas form the vast lakes. So you see a number of lakes in that area. Alright, so on the other hand, the Coromandel Plains, I hope you know where we have the Coromandel Plains. The Coromandel Plain is in the state of Tamil Nadu. Alright, in the east coastal plain. It is the result of mild subsidence followed by sedimentation. So the land, it subsided down. Then because of the deposition by the sea waves as well as by the rivers, this plain was formed. Alright, so the structural plains are the result of the uplift or the subsidence of land. Next type of plain is the depositional plain. So as the name implies, this plain has been formed because of the deposition by the various agents of erosion like the rivers, the sea waves, all right, by the wind. So the deposits were laid down, and as a result of this, in course of time, the depositional plains were formed, as you can see in this picture. So first we'll do the river deposition plain. So they are most widespread, and the example is the alluvial plains. The northern plains where we are living is also an example of a depositional plains. So the Himalayan rivers, as they continue to flow, and in the past also, they used to bring a lot of sediments, and these sediments were deposited in the plains, making these plains very fertile. So at the foothills of the mountains are found the Piedmont alluvial plains. The word Piedmont means at the foothill. So when the river descends from the mountains, the moment it reaches the plains, the velocity of the river comes down and it starts depositing the sediments. So at the foothills we have the Piedmont alluvial plains. So they are regarded as the granaries of the world, the depositional plains made by the rivers, because these the fertile silt which has been brought down by the rivers, it makes the soil very fertile. That is why agriculturally the depositional plains are very significant. We are also living in that area only, and you all know how important it is from the point of view of agriculture. So children, in India, the floodplains are divided into Khadar plains. The Khadar plains, they have been made by the recent deposits, and the Bhangar plains, which are actually the old deposits of the past. So the Khadar plains are much more fertile because every year it gets enriched by the fresh alluvium. All right. So children, here in this picture, you can see the Piedmont alluvial plain. So at the background, you can see the mountains, and here you can see the slightly plain area where the deposits have been laid down by the river. The next type of depositional plains are the plains formed by wind deposition. So children, in the deserts later on when we do the chapter of denudation, we'll be studying about the work of the river. So work of the river and the work of the wind as well. So children, all agents of erosion, they perform three functions. That is of erosion, transportation, and finally deposition. So the wind also, on one hand, after it has done the erosion, it transports the sand, and then when the wind velocity comes down, it starts to deposit the sand which it had eroded. So this results in the formation of plains, huge sandy plains, and they are found in deserts like Sahara, the Thar Desert. They have irregular and undulating surface, all right, which is characterized by the presence of sand dunes and hollows. We see a number of depressions in between. We see sand dunes also. You know what are sand dunes? These are hills, all right, of sand. So the lowest plains of China are also an example of the plains formed by wind deposition. Okay, now the last type of plain formed because of deposition are the plains formed by marine deposition. All right, so we find these kind of plains in the coastal areas because the word marine itself is associated with the oceans and the seas. So children, the sea waves are an important agent of erosion in the coastal areas. So as I told you, on one hand, all agents of erosion, they do the work of erosion, the transportation, and finally the deposition. So we have the various kinds of examples. We've already studied about them. So now we'll be studying about the plains formed by marine deposition. So in the coastal areas, the beaches are an example of marine deposition. All right, you can see in the beaches there are a lot of sand, fine sand, which has been deposited by the sea waves. So we find such plains in the coastal areas, and children, in your textbook, you will see that they have also given the examples of polders and dikes in Netherlands. So I'll be sharing in this class itself, I'll be sharing a YouTube link about the polders and the dikes, and I'll just explain it to you. But if you see it in the video, things will become all the more clear. So children, you all know that Netherlands, they are also referred to as a lowland country because a part of that country is below the sea level. So in order to reclaim the land, all right, to make the land available to the people, what was done was that they constructed polders and dikes. So polders is actually a land which is enclosed by dikes. Dikes are actually, children, wall-like construction so that the water would not get inside it. So polder was the enclosed land, and around it the dikes were constructed. Then with the help of powerful pump, the extra water that was there in the polder was just pumped out. The land was allowed to dry, and then it was used for cultivation. All right. So I'm sure when you see that video, things will become all the more clear to all of you. Okay, children, so we studied about the landforms and the formation, the factors. So the presence of landforms itself is actually an indication of the tremendous amount of forces which are operating from below, from the interior of the earth, as well as on the surface of the earth in the form of exogenic forces. So in the beginning of the lesson itself, I had told all of you that landforms are actually the result of the endogenic and exogenic forces. So now in the last segment of the chapter, we'll be studying about the importance of landforms. So first we'll study about the importance of mountains. So children, if you see, the first is that the mountains add natural beauty to an area. As you can see in the picture, it adds to the beauty of a place, and thus it promotes tourism. Similarly, children, in the mountains, there are lots of trees which grow. So they are a source of timber. All right. Then the next is the source of rivers. In our own country itself, you can see that the glaciers like Gangotri, they are responsible for the formation of the Gangotri glacier has given rise to river Ganga. Similarly, Yamunotri has given rise to Yamuna. So the mountains along with the glaciers are the source of a number of rivers, perennial rivers. All right. Then the next is that the mountains influence the climate. Here again, it can be explained in context with Himalayas. So our country is greatly influenced by the Himalayas. It is said had the Himalayas not been there, then the rain-bearing monsoon winds would have traveled northwards without shedding any moisture in India, and thus India would have been a desert-like country. But because of the Himalayas, they act as a climatic divide. So children, in this picture, in this slide, you can see that there is a blue arrow which refers to the rain-bearing monsoon winds. So when the monsoon winds, when they strike the Himalayas, they are forced to rise. When they rise, they experience cooling because of the increase in height. All right. And so the water vapor which is contained in the moist air, it starts to condense, and then it sheds the rainfall. So the rainfall this side of the hill or the mountain which receives rainfall is called the windward side. All right. Then after shedding moisture, when the winds descend on the other side, they lose much of the moisture, and that area which receives little or no rainfall is an example of a rain shadow. It's called the rain shadow or the leeward side. So children, in India, the southern slopes of Himalayas, they lie on the windward slope. They receive a lot of rainfall, whereas on the other side, the northern slopes, they lie on the leeward side. So they are dry areas. So this is how the mountains greatly influence the climate of an area. So I hope you've understood about the importance of mountains. Next, we have the importance of plateaus. Plateaus are equally important. All right, many of the plateaus, they are the source of a variety of minerals like tin, for example. All right, so in India also, a lot of mining is done in the Deccan Plateau. So the plateaus are a rich source of minerals. They are a storehouse of minerals. A variety of minerals are found there. All right. So I think just now after I complete the lesson, you must give me some examples of the minerals which are found in different plateaus. Then children, uh, from the weathering, I think you've studied in class 7 that from the weathering of rocks, soil is formed. So children, in the Deccan Plateau, because of the weathering of the volcanic rocks, black soil was formed, which is very fertile. All right, and it has uh, helped in agriculture in that area, especially cotton is grown in that area. The last is the importance of plains. So children, plains are very important. All right, from the point of view of agriculture, just now only some time back I told you that many of the plains, the depositional plains, are formed by the deposits laid down by the rivers. So as a result of this, these plains are very, very fertile and they help in agriculture. Similarly, because the land is flat, so it helps in the development or construction of roads, laying down of railway lines. So in the plains, we find that there is a dense network of roads, railway lines, airports. All right. So this is how the plains are important. I hope you have understood the lesson well.